I made it to create a space for conversation around complexity. And so it's really important to us that you're here, and we're going to be able to be in conversation after the film. So once it finishes, we're going to have people from the film here to be in conversation with you. And let the credits roll. If you can stay, we'll be afterward. The only thing I want to tell you, which you'll see on the screen at the beginning, is the warning. Some of the images, especially toward the beginning of the film. Unfortunately, it's the context to the story we're telling. So just take care of yourself and know that it's there, and we'll be back with you after the film. Thank you so much. Just let it go. And we have another guest with us tonight. Unfortunately, when we did Disturbing the Peace 10 years ago, we had Israeli and Palestinian members, combatants, and people from the film with us at every screening. And it's a different reality today. So the Palestinians, as you all know, are not able to get entrance into Israel to be here, so we've been doing it virtually. And there's actually a technology issue in the theater, so we're not able to Zoom with Shaheen. But I'm glad you did get to meet her in the film and to have an image of her. She's an amazing, amazing activist and human being. And we are going to have her here with us through my phone. So you keep the image in your mind and in my welcome.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Good evening.
And maybe it's unfair, but actually, what I'd like to do before we start, and we've done this at each of the screenings, is to ask if anybody would like to share one word. People can just share one word of what they're feeling right now. Noga, is it possible to put the lights on? Yeah. That's okay. That's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Perfect. Yes.
Heartbroken.
Heartbroken.
Proud.
Proud. Kaev and Vatikva. Anyone else? Yerush.
Change.
Admiration for people who, despite the pain, don't give up. Thank you. So we want this to be a conversation, and we'll get started, but we want to ask you to be able to share your questions as well. And the one thing we'd ask is, because we're very fortunate to have Avner here and to have Mine with us, is it's always more productive to have questions than statements, so that we are able to have a conversation. And in a very unfair way, I want to begin with you, Mine. And I'll just paint a picture for you. You have a theater here in Jerusalem at the Cinematech of people who came and just finished the film and are sitting here together. And I want to ask you if there's a few words that you would like to share.
Thank you, dear, and good evening to all of you. And again, I'm very touched and grateful to see how the film is gathering people and allowing people to come together to witness the different truth as well that exists today with all of the pain that we are witnessing. This film, to me, is a community tool that could speak to another truth that says we want to live and we want to be in peace. And tonight you are sitting in the city that I know the most, that knows me the most, where my daughter is also staying, with all of the joy. There is so much pain and strengthening within me. The knowing and the childhood, the playing and the laughter of the old city, still knowing and remembering each and every corner and even doubting that anyone knows this city as much as I do, and yet seeing the reality of today. I'm soon 40, and to say my daughter is in Jerusalem and I am in Lijala, and yet to have the film again, and this is not a film, this is a reality. This is such one of the purest realities that needs to be witnessed, that needs to be seen, that needs to be spoken of, because it's the only reality that will bring back true freedom and true liberation and justice, and it's the only way for us to reconcile.
Just move it down. And we have another guest with us tonight. Unfortunately, when we did Disturbing the Peace 10 years ago, we had Israeli and Palestinian members of combatants and people from the film with us at every screening. And it's a different reality today. So the Palestinians, as you all know, are not able to get entrance into Israel to be here, so we've been doing it virtually. And there's actually a technology issue in the theater, so we're not able to Zoom with Imran Shaheen. But I'm glad that you did get to meet her in the film and to have an image of her. She's an amazing, amazing activist and human being. And we are going to have her here with us through my phone. So you can keep the image in your mind and my welcome.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Good evening.
And maybe it's unfair, but actually, what I'd like to do before we start, we've done this at each of the screenings, is to ask if anybody would like to share one word. People can just share one word of what they're feeling right now. Noga, is it possible to put the lights on? Yeah. That's okay. That's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Perfect. Yes.
Heartbroken.
Heartbroken.
Proud.
Proud. Kaev v'tikva. Anyone else? Yehush.
The change.
Change.
The change.
Admiration for people who, despite the pain, don't give up. Thank you. So we want this to be a conversation, and we'll get started, but we want to ask you to be able to share your questions as well. And the one thing we'd ask is, because we're very fortunate to have Avner here and to have Mai with us, is it's always more productive to have questions than statements, so that we are able to have a conversation. And in a very unfair way, I want to begin with you, Mai. And I'll just paint a picture for you. You had a theater here in Jerusalem at the Cinematech of people who came and just finished the film and are sitting here together. And I want to ask you if there's a few words that you would like to share.
Thank you, dear, and good evening to all of you. And again, again, I'm very touched and grateful to see how the film is gathering people and allowing people to come together to witness a different truth as well that exists today with all of the pain that we are witnessing. This film to me is a community tool that could speak to another truth that says we want to live and we want to be in peace. And tonight you are sitting in the city that I know the most, that knows me the most, where my daughter is also staying, which with all of the joy, there is so much pain and trembling within me, the knowing and the childhood, the playing and the laughter of the old city, and still knowing and remembering each and every corner and even doubting that anyone knows this city as much as I do, and yet seeing the reality of today. And I am soon 40, and to say my daughter is in Jerusalem and I am in Bejala, and yet to have the film again, and this is not a film, this is a reality. This is such one of the purest realities that needs to be witnessed, that needs to be seen, that needs to be spoken of, because it's the only reality that will bring back true freedom and true liberation and justice, and it's the only way for us to reconcile and to see back the humanity and to remind each other of who we are and the abundance of this land. And I want to say something, since it's Jerusalem again, that we shall never forget our spiritual role, our spiritual responsibilities as people of such lands, not only because it is Jerusalem, but because of who we are to begin with, spiritual being. And the aim and the intention of this land, even with the three religions, I see it as three brothers. And though we are different, we are brothers, we are sisters, and we are unique in our differences, but we are still one family. We belong to one mother. So, thank you for coming, and I really hope Jerusalem will get to live back the laughter that I know and I remember, and that you will be able to go back home tonight and tell your kids and children that a different reality also exists. Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Mami. I want to stay in Jerusalem with you, Avner. It's a place that you live, have raised your children, and the reality is that we're only miles away from where Maya is now. We're miles away from a place that you've spent a lot of time over these last decades through your transformation. And can you share a few words? The last few years were by far the worst we've known, all of us, and maybe particularly for people who travel back and forth across the green line, which is also the line that separates a semi-democratic country from an apartheid regime that this democratic country is managing and enforcing, and traveling back and forth between these realities. The other reality that May was just talking about is heartbreaking. It's as if there is not enough pain on our side. There is all that other pain that we inflict. And for me personally, this has always been difficult, but over the last few years, it became hard to bear. And I keep hearing around us people saying, "Oh, I don't have room in my heart for their pain, as if our heart is real estate. We have room in our heart if we choose to have it. And we have capacity for compassion, limitless, not only for humans even. We also have capacity for aggression. And that is as important to recognize that. In Combatants for Peace, we always make that point. It's not like we are in some way over that. We are beyond violence, we are beyond aggression. No. We keep telling our personal stories in many, many different meetings with different audiences. And it's not just a technique. It is also reminding ourselves that we have all been part of this violence in one form or another. And recognizing that it is all within us. Violence always inheres in us, all of us. It's a choice to be made. And what we're trying to do in Combatants for Peace, especially in the last few years, is to create a reality in which violence is recognized, aggression within all of us is recognized, as opposed to projecting it onto others. Oh, those people, they're so violent, they're so racist. We are all racist, we are all violent. But we choose otherwise. So our goal is to create a reality in which violence and aggression is recognized. It's not marginalized in the sense that we kind of suppress it, but compassion and care and love is cultivated actively. And if we put 1/100th of the money we put into war into cultivation of something else, we may get a result. And one last thing, people keep saying, oh, but we tried that. Really? How many times have you tried killing each other? Nobody says, oh, but we tried that about war. We did one not sincere effort, and that's it. We need to end this, and we know that it can end. How do I know that? Because it ended in so many other places around the world. And if theoretically you agree with me that most conflicts are resolved at one point or another, then why not end it tomorrow? Ultimately, it's a matter of choice. It's not something beyond human will. So we just need to believe it is possible and then act. Just believing is not enough.
Thank you, Avner. You know, we talked about this last night and at other screenings, that one of the most powerful weapons that can work against us is the destruction of our imagination, is the convincing us that there is no possibility. And the second, I think, weapon is to make us believe in the dehumanization of whoever we created as the other, is to convince us that there's nobody on the other side. And this is a question, as we've traveled with this film, as we travel with Disturbing the Peace. I always said when we did screenings, and this film will screen it's screened in the West Bank already. It will screen in Ramallah and Bejala and Kusra. Like all of that is ongoing. And as with Disturbing the Peace, I always said that if you closed your eyes, you didn't speak Hebrew or Arabic, you weren't sure what language was being spoken afterward, you would have no idea whether you were here or there. Because literally what it came down to was the question was, is there really somebody on the other side who cares about us? And if I can ask you to speak to this question that often comes up in the screenings of is this a small group that's idealistic? Are you such a minority that it's impossible? Can you speak to that?
Yes, we had it was also on the pen yesterday, and I think this question to me seems like a call of hope. Like, tell us that there is hope. And yes, we are not the minority. We are the majority. We are as humans, as everyone else is. And I want to say again that this whole occupation, it's not only about the occupation, it's about the system that occupies all of us, just in different ways, just in different strategies. I am occupied by land, and I believe Israelis now are occupied by weapon and by everything that is being done also on the Israelis by weaponizing even the Israeli society. And if we look also in many countries in the world, we see that it's a system. And part of this system is the Israeli occupation. And yes, it is dehumanizing us, and it is actually allowing more of this enemy image to be put on us. And this is yet to say that no, we are not a minority. We are exactly as the Israelis. We want peace, we want the freedom, we want to be who we are, we want to be home, we want the freedom of movement, we want the freedom of speech, we want all sorts of the freedom to be in our lives. And unless we come to this acknowledgement that we are oneness, we are one, we are exactly the same, and this side, that side, this is the system. This is the system that made sides. This is the system that broke the land into half and told us, these are your enemies. 80 years ago, we were not enemies, my dears. We never, as Palestinians, had anything to do with the history of what went on with the Holocaust, for example. And now we look at Germany, and I continue to say the story. My brother is married to a Jewish Israeli, and now they are raising their kids in Germany because this is where they feel safe and seen, and they can take their kids, and they can be Palestinian. He can be a Palestinian, she can be an Israeli Jew, and if they can do it in Germany after the Holocaust, then we can do it. Then we should look at it and say yes. Then it must be done. It was done. So, are we the minority? No, we are the majority.
Thank you, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, even before trying to bring more people in, it is holding something, an alternative to the reality we're living in. And it is possible that at this time, it's not possible, it's a fact, that at this time, many people on both sides live the reality we live as a matter of no other choice. And I think, speaking to your question about imagination, I think this is the greatest achievement, quote-unquote, of Netanyahu. He destroyed our political imagination. We live in a wasteland of imagination in which fighting forever is the only choice. And think about all the conversations you had with other people. It all boils down to, but we have no choice. And this is an extremely dangerous truism for a society, because if we have no choice, then we can kill and kill and kill and be killed forever. Everything is justified if we have no choice. And the most horrific thought, I think, for many Israelis and possibly for Palestinians as well, is that there is a choice. Because what would that mean? It would mean that so much of it was for nothing. It was all for nothing if we accept that maybe at different points in time, there was an alternative, but we didn't take it. How do you live with that? So I think many people are trying to they cling to this no choice thing, not just because this is what is fed from above, but because they want to believe it, because the alternative is very, very frightening. And so I think holding this alternative, and possibly at this time, maybe all we can do is modeling this alternative. And one last thing. It comes with a lot of pain, as I said, but it also comes with freedom. Freedom, the freedom of not subjecting yourself to whatever it is that you were taught, playing the part in a narrative that was written by others, expecting you to play the role. And this freedom, I think, and these relationships that we have with people who we were not supposed to have relations with, like Meili and Jamin and all the others, and Stephen and Marcina, you've seen it for years. For me, this is, and I'm quoting Marcina here, this is peace. It is already happening, very small. But it is happening. It happens for me. It can happen for you. And then many, many people will join. It may take a long time. It may be shorter. I don't know. But we have to hold that. Otherwise, we've already lost.
First of all, I want to let you guys know a little bit. Like, I'm from the United States, from a small town called Ashtabula, Ohio. And growing up, I got to know about the Middle East, Palestinians and Israelis through my news. And I always saw the Palestinians as the terrorists. They were always the bad people. And I was afraid of them. That's how I was raised. I don't know who it is that makes our media that feeds us the stories. But we're fed a lot of stories in different places. And it depends on where you're raised in the United States. You'll get different news according to certain areas. And when I started working with Stephen and he was working on this film, I thought, well, this really doesn't have that much to do with me. Oh my God. It has everything to do with all of us. And for me, it opened so many different eyes. Because when we finished Disturbing the Peace, and how many of you guys saw Disturbing the Peace? Okay, the first film. And if you haven't seen it yet, you're welcome to see it. It's really important to...
Where's it accessible?
We can let you know after you email us. We'll send you a link. It was on Netflix for many years, but we'd be happy to see it.
And it was really interesting because when we worked on that film, seeing how we're looking at what the combatants were doing, but we understood that what they were doing had to do with so many places around the world. And they had no idea. And we just talked about that yesterday. They were just like thinking what they were doing, but we could see from the outside how much it represented so many different people. And then it was also understanding the U.S. role during our period of time. Obama was in as president, and there was $38 billion that were passed to give to Israel. But all of the money had to be used to buy U.S. weapons. So there is a lot of personal work that we have been doing, even in the United States or with this film, and being able to support it. But it's also me getting used to walking outside of my comfort zone to get to meet Palestinians and not be afraid. And it was interesting because one time we had to get one more shot, and we went over to Palestine and to Nablus, and we were driving, and we're supposed to get a shot that was very intimidating, that you felt afraid. And as we're going, people are like looking at us, smiling, and I'm like going, okay. And so then we tried a couple of different things that they put me in the back, then they got me out of the car. And you know, and I'm walking down the street and they're offering food and stuff, and I'm like, this isn't what I was taught. Who are these people? And so there is a place that I know that I have been given this information, but I know that all of us have. And how do we learn to step outside the narratives that we've been fed to be able to explore? And so it's one of the things that I think is so valuable about these guys, is to watch them love each other. And I don't mean a little bit. We got to travel with them all over the world in different places, and frickin' when we time to get food out, everybody's around, and Mohammed's like making, and he's not letting me buy something too expensive at the grocery store. But they truly are taking care of each other.
It reminds me, we had a screening in the West Bank about 3 months ago, and I won't use their name because I haven't been given permission, but a very prominent rabbi here in Jerusalem and his wife came to the screening. And afterward, and it was very intense, it was very hard and painful. And afterward, nobody wanted to leave. They didn't want to leave each other. And the rabbi took me aside, and he was profoundly moved, and he said, I honestly have never seen this kind of love before. And what I can tell you, having been on this journey with these guys now for 14 years, is that they do pay a price. All of them pay a price in some way. We were talking about it today. They all pay a price for the position they take, for the work that they do. But what I've also experienced is that they live with a level of joy, but more important than that is they have a freedom that very few of us ever get to experience. And it's the freedom of being outside of the narrative that tells us who we're supposed to love and who we're supposed to hate, who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. And they get to experience each other as a human being, and as important, they experience themselves in the fullness of what it is to be human. The rabbis will talk about the Yitzhar Ra, Yitzhar Tov, the capacity for violence, the capacity for peace, compassion, and love. And when they accept all of that, it's the integration of all of that, the fullness of humanity, that gives access to that freedom. So I'd like to open it up to people here for any questions that you might have. Yes.
Sure.
You can ask in Hebrew. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Abnel, you said that you're coming from a background that your father also was military, or maybe I need to put the bigger. Maybe it's the other guy. Okay. But I would like to hear how is your family, like your parents, for example, how they look. I mean, they saw you since you were a child and lived all kinds of wars. And how did they saw the change from being a soldier and to what you're doing now, and how it reflects?
I'm just going to repeat very quickly from Mai so that she's part of it. And Mai, the question was just about Avner's relationship with his family and their experience and connection to his journey. Yeah, and we'll also ask that of you, Mai.
I'll answer very briefly to give the mic to Mai, because I think it's more interesting for people here. I'm lucky my family was generally supportive since I refused to serve in the occupied territories back in 2004 or something. My father wasn't thrilled, let's say, but he accepted it. And I'm lucky in this way. There are a few activists and combatants for peace here in the audience today. I want to recognize them first. Zneta and Valda and one man in the back. Not everybody are that lucky. For some people, this is a very difficult struggle with the immediate surrounding. Mia, I don't know if she's here. So, yeah, for me it was easy, but defer to Mike.
But there was also a very important moment in disturbing the peace, and I think it's in the initial montage here too of the history, which is as you're being sworn into the military, how proud your parents were of you. And I will just say that we did a screening. Marcina talked about this last night. We did a screening at Avner's Kibbutz, and of all of the screenings we did of disturbing the peace, I think you were the most nervous about it. And his whole community was there. And one guy came up afterward and he said, Avner, he said, you've always been my hero, but even more so now. And sorry, but I wanted to turn it to my...
Well, I just want to say too, because Disturbing the Peace was actually translated into 23 different languages. And so it's played throughout the world. And these guys, when they were looking at the film, they did not know that it would be so widely distributed.
Emma, could you answer that question about your family as well?
Yes. Thank you for the question. Yeah, for me, my family were never the issue. I come from parents that really believed in peace and tried their best, were involved in the Oslo. They had a lot of connections and friends, and they were such dreamers until their heart broke when Rabin was killed. It killed their faith, and it really, it was very disappointing for them. I, on the other hand, was born in the first Intifada, and I was a teenager to the second Intifada, and I witnessed as a child the whole invasion of my town, Isaiah, Bethany, which is in East Jerusalem, Mount of Olives, and it was really hard for me as a child, and I only met Israelis as a military, people in a uniform and with big, huge weapons, and they would come to scream at us and hold us for hours and take us to the Muscovia and investigate with us. And so my violent resistance grew more in the second Intifada, and I couldn't believe in any other way but violence to meet the violence that I was witnessing. And I was put also through. My family was separated immediately after the second Intifada due to my mom holding the Jerusalem ID, my father holding what they call the West Bank ID. And suddenly the whole separation invaded the house. I couldn't walk to where I knew I could walk to my grandma's house. And for a few years I was in the violent resistance until my mom held me from taking one of the, now I call, very bad decisions of my life. And she happened to know what to say at that moment of asking me, who am I going to tell? Do I know them? Who are they? Who did they tell me? And that question and her action of sending me to Germany and telling me that if I want to support Palestine, then I shall become a therapist and study abuse and study trauma and come back to Palestine, and this is how we free our lands. And this is what exactly was done until the age of 27 of me having my own daughter, that I happened to meet the first Israeli Jew that was with no weapon and in a community, in a setting of a conversation around peace and around nonviolent communication. And up until then, I knew nothing. But the moment I knew, the moment I got to meet Maya Sassoon, and the moment I got to meet Goni Zilberman, and the moment I got to meet Talia Hirsch, and the moment I got to listen to them and to witness them and to cry with them and to be angry with them, is the moment I realized that I didn't know. This truth was taken away from me with this system, with this occupational system that took away this very fragile human meetings of understanding. My gosh, I love them. I love them. I wish, not only that I don't wish harm on them, I am willing to take the harm for them. And now my family, my niece and my nephew are Israeli, Jew, Palestinians. We changed the blood of the family. We changed the whole town of Isaiah. And this is exactly what we're trying to say in this film. To show that, yes, now that you know, it doesn't matter your family. Now that you know what is it that you're gonna do. Now that you know which truth are you standing for. Now that you know what is the conversation on the table. I say as a woman, we have so much power. If I, as a Palestinian from the West Bank, with all of the image that is put on me of being powerless and being not seen by my community, if I was able to bring my men and my family and my town and my people, then it's a question to lay also for now people in the think, now what do we do now that we know that we exist and we want peace and we want freedom? And you see the reality. What do we do? Do we go back home and continue as if nothing? Or do we walk back and open the door and say, hey, now it's done. Now we stop. Now you come. Now we talk. Now we see. Now you're worth more than a weapon. Do not hold a weapon. Do not hold a weapon. Freedom is way beyond what they want us to see. And Aram, and Carmel, and Shaheen, and Mila, and Noor, they deserve a life of freedom and joy. So, yeah.
Thank you, Maya. It strikes me that it's important to say that this is not kumbaya, and this is not hummus and pita, and let's have a good time. When you're with them in the work that they do, it is a very real situation. The triggers, the injustices, it all comes up. It all comes up. It is not free of conflict. But anybody who's ever been in a family or a relationship knows that no relationship is free of conflict. The question is, how do you resolve that? How do you respect and honor the other person's perspective, experience, and work towards something together? It reminds me that back in 2012, 2013, Meta was there. In the first time I met people from the organization, I asked them, what is it that you're really doing? What are you guys really about? And one of them said, we're a community of people taking responsibility for our own creation. A community of people taking responsibility for our own creation. The other one said, we are breaking the cycle of violence by breaking our own sense of victimhood. One was Israeli, one was Palestinian. I used to say which was which. I no longer do because it doesn't matter. But it was those two ideas that inspired this journey that we've been on and the films. Question?
Thank you, Avner and Maya, for the beautiful, honest answers you've been giving. I was thinking, when you talked about war being no other option, sometimes I eat meat and my wife is vegetarian, and often when we go to restaurants, if it's a meat restaurant, everything on the menu is chicken, beef, steak. It's like there's nothing vegetarian on the menu. And I feel like when I look at the politics in this country, there's nothing vegetarian on the menu. It's just like going into a burger bar. And I often try and speak to my friends on the left, people that might be voting very liberal and people like that. And they say, אני רוצה שלום, אני מאמין בזה, אבל אני לא יכול לדבר עם איראן או עם החזבאללה, עם החמאס. And then I speak to my Palestinian friends, I want peace, but I talk to Smotrich, to Ben Gvir, so I'm curious, both for you and when you find people who are like, they're on your side, they're not extreme, they want to believe in you, and they just say, I can't see a partner, and if I could see a partner, I would join this movement. How do you get them over the line?
The question, and I'm going to turn to Avner first with it, is how do you deal not with the extremists in either society, but with those people who know the humanity of the other side, but can't find a place within their society or can't find a place within the other society to speak to.
Because they see there's no
Because
partners.
they don't see the clear partners, and they think it's a waste of time. So first of all, I have to apologize because at 8 o'clock I am going to do a webinar from here because I can't reach home, and there are going to be 400 people on that webinar, and it's about the Nakba ceremony that we are holding next Friday in Berjaya. So first of all, you're all invited, either physically to the location, which is safe, or online. It's going to be broadcast live. And ahead of this ceremony, I'm going to speak with a few of my friends and colleagues from combatants police. So this is why in 2 minutes I'm going to leave, and I apologize. I'm sure you understand that. Answering your question, of course, there's no easy answer to that. All I can do, as I said, is be that thing in the world that I wish to represent. And try to say, sometimes with words, sometimes just by being. And they know. Sometimes I'm like a mosquito for some of my friends. And it's not always a very pleasant feeling of being the mosquito. But I know that this mosquito forces them sometimes to reconsider. And sometimes that's all we can do. And some of them over the years, I'm speaking about my friends and people in different circles, from my kibbutz where I grew up, I no longer live there for many years, I'm here in Jerusalem, and in university where I work and in other places, some people, they listen. And sometimes all we can do is, make them doubt and make them think about alternative menus, to use your metaphor. Sometimes you can do more, but first of all you have to be there. And you have to keep asking, where is the other menu? Or maybe start a new restaurant. And this is what we are trying to do. I think before we lose you, Avner, I just want to say, and Mai, we're going to turn to you. The third weapon, we talked about the first two, the destruction of imagination, the belief there's nobody on the other side. The third weapon, I would say, is that there's an idea that it won't make a difference, so why do it? And what I've learned from your work and so much more is that that is the easiest way to get you to not do it, is to feel that it is so overwhelming and that whatever you do won't make a difference. It's a drop in the ocean. It's whatever. And what I've learned from them is that it's not about Suleiman. I learned this from Suleiman. He said to me a couple of years ago, he said, you know what? He said, I realized I'm less interested in the destination than I am in the journey. Because they're actually living the reality of it. And the question in my mind always comes up is how do we do this in a way that it's not transactional? Where it's not, I'll do it if it makes a difference. If it's worth doing. The question is, what are we willing to do as an expression of gratitude for being in this world first, regardless of the outcome? What is it that we're willing to do to stand in our humanity? And Avner needs to stand in his by going to this webinar, but I do want to turn to Mai before we wrap it up. Avner, thank you so much. We're actually being told that we have to finish because there's another thing. But I'd like to give you 20 seconds, if that's okay, to just...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to say that my answer to that question is community. When you come to this field, you have to be part of the community. You have to surround yourself with people alike. You have to believe that this is not only peace activism, this is a style of life. So you need to choose your people and your tribe. And we will always meet people that would doubt us. This is why there is not so many people that would choose this, but we don't need so many people. We need a few believers and people that are willing to stand. And the moment you find it, I tell you from where I am, with everything that is happening, There is nothing that is of more contentment and healing to me as much as doing what I am doing 24/7 as a therapist, as an activist, with the film, with non-violent, whatever it is that I do, because I am part of a community that believes and sees the humanity, and this is the most healing. So my invitation is to connect and bring yourself to ask the questions: where is community? Where can I take myself to? Who can I be around in order to see and to continue to have faith? Because wherever I look, I see hope and faith. All my friends, all my community are similar to what I am choosing to do. And it's very crucial. It's very crucial because we are in the midst of war. Inner war and outer war, so community and movement is a big way of how to answer these questions.
Thank you for that, Mai. And speaking of community, Combatants for Peace are doing ongoing work. You can learn more about their organization. There are screenings coming up next week in Haifa, in Beersheba, as I said, in the West Bank as well. But you can let people know about the screenings. And you can learn more about them on the Combatants for Peace site. For anybody who would like to see Disturbing the Peace, you can simply send us an email at, I'll tell you right now, at hello@reconsider.org. And just tell us you were at the screening and you'd like to see it, and we'll be happy to send you a link. hello@reconsider.org.
For Disturbing the Peace, yeah.
For Disturbing the Peace. Most importantly, I know that there is so much competition for our time and our attention. And the ability to come together is one of the most powerful acts there is of humanity, and we really appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for you.